Okay, we can start the class. In the last class, what we have talked about is, we have talked about the taxonomic hierarchy, right, and the different taxon rank, or which is also called as unit of classification, right, details about each and every group, that is species, genus, etc. That is something that we have done. We have also studied as far as the sequence is concerned, no, we remember that line, keep pots clean, otherwise family gets sick, right. And the last thing that we have studied was biological concept of species. What we remember about biological concept? That this is what is biological concept? This is nothing but a definition of speciation, right? According to Ernest Mayr, what did he say? That species, those organisms that can interbreed amongst themselves only will form a group that is called as species, right? But we have talked about certain exceptions to biological concept of species also, right? Certain types of fertile offsprings and certain types of sterile offsprings, right. So, up till there we have studied. So, we are left out with just the last topic, that is taxonomic aids. But before going to taxonomic aids, ketaman points likhi lo, kisman terms ase, he terms ke liye likho. Episode summary. কেইটামান আছে So some types of species, morphospecies, taxonomic species. What is a taxonomic species? A species having a definite binomial name. I think by the statement itself we understand. What is a sibling species? Sibling species. Sibling mane ki brothers and sisters, no? So what we understand is they will not interbreed amongst themselves, right? And so we call them as sibling species. Duita dekha dekhi kin duita ki hoy jodi eke hoy dekha generally what we think if they belong to the same species then they can interbreed amongst themselves, but in this case no doubt they look almost the same, but in spite of that since they do not interbreed amongst themselves ekan tak ami ki boli koi thoidu sibling species koi thoidu, right? Next, allopatric and sympatric ekin loke to buji paiso. Species having exclusive area of geographical distribution, species having overlapping area of geographical distribution. Ekhine loke to these are the terms generally related with living world. Yar pisot jungita likhim etu aru eta species likhim, for example parapatric. Ekhine generally one ecology portion or question because again in that chapter we will be studying in details. As of now we have certain species that are called as allopatric species. Allopatric species mane ki sometimes you might see that in a particular habitat, right, there bahut bilak species ase, maybe you think about one species, right? We have a habitat eta species asile, right? Suppose A, right? All of a sudden due to certain environmental conditions, maybe environmental conditions like thora ekhon river hoi gol yate hobo pare no, right? Or it can be like this, the species bilak sob ekelage asile, all of a sudden due to certain reason ekhon mountain form korile koribo pare no. So when such type of an environmental factor is associated, what happens is the river or the mountain, uprising of a mountain or formation of a river might separate the habitat into two areas, right? In that case ki hobo, no doubt they belong to the same species, but even then they will have almost no reproduction amongst themselves. Kan dure dure thake no, etu nohoy je reproduce koribo noare, reproduce koribo pare kintu iman dur hoi jay je hardly you can see reproduction. That type of a species is called as allopatric. Is the point clear? So allopatric species actually originally they belong to the same species, they could interbreed among themselves since geographically ki hoise distributed hoi goise tahator major interbreeding possible nohua hoi gol, right? So that is allopatric. Talking about sympatric species, sympatric species etu word monot rakhiba exclusive or overlapping. Overlapping to keneke bujam, suppose we have a habitat, right? In a particular habitat, suppose we talk about the insect eggs, right? Hey insect at a particular leafot egg lay korisile, right? Egg lay kori pela obviously insect yar upore feed on korisile, the baby stage or the larval stage. All of a sudden instead of laying its egg here, he started to lay the eggs in this leaf, right? Eketa species originally yate egg lay korisile, etia due to certain reasons they started laying the egg in this. So tetia ki hobo, yar juntu development of the larva hobo, yate juntu development of the larva hobo, originally they are same kintu okkoman holeo difference hobo. So these two species staying in the same area is called as overlapping, right? There might be changes in the food habit, right? So jedi environmental condition o karone separate hoy, that is called as allopatric. Jedi tahator habitat eketa jagate ase kintu beleg beleg hoi goise, then it is called as sympatric. Next likha parapatric. A last or two chapters a question ahe no from MCQ pattern, you have to be looking for these two words only. Example nukhude iman. Next, parapatric. Parapatric, or the word that is important is adjacent. Adjacent to buzi pao, no? You have, maybe we are talking about this as a habitat, and this could be a forest, this could be a pond, right? So duta geographic distribution ase. So a transition zone to, right? Adjacent area, right? So adjacent area thaka species kini ami ki boli kom parapatric. So if they are just very close to each other, ketiaba to logu pabo, no? So they have a very narrow zone of overlap. যদি পুরা ওভারল্যাপ হৈ আছে তেতিয়াহ'লে সিম্পেট্ৰিক, যদি একদম অকণমান ওভাৰল্যাপ হৈছে তেতিয়াহ'লে পেৰাপেট্ৰিক। So since we are talking about species, we see that there are different types of species. Some of the types of species are as such. Bas ekini ecology portion iman clear nohoy. So since this is over, taxonomic aids boli heading kora ebar. Okay, so we'll be starting a point called as taxonomic aids. Taxonomic aids, as far as taxonomy is concerned, we have talked about taxonomy, right? Whenever you want to know an organism, what you will do is you will study about the organism, you will collect certain informations about the organism, etc., etc. We can go for a taxonomic type of classification also, right? Why do you go for a taxonomic classification? Just to know the organism better, right? So in that case, if you have to gather certain informations about our organism, we can take the help of certain things, and those are called as taxonomic aids, right? For example, if you want to know about a particular type of a plant, hey, plant dal bisari to kobat jabo laibo, no? Kobat jabo laibo tumi dekha nai. Maybe we go to the botanical gardens, right? In the botanical gardens, you might be noticing that each and every plant, exact classification, exact name, botanical name, scientific name, local name, English, Hindi, so bote likha thake, all the informations are there. So visiting a botanical garden will always help you in your taxonomic study, and so that could act as a taxonomical aid in case of plants. Similarly, in case of animals, you can go to a zoo, right? Instead of using the word called as zoo, we use a word called as zoological park, right? Take then again museum jabo paru, right? So all those things we can refer to certain books also. So all this comes under the word called as aids. So aids or so first is botanical gardens. Botanical gardens portion of we'll be writing a note, and whenever we write a note, obviously the note is something that's very long. Kintu if you choose the points from entrance point of view, ketaman point hai ami poru, right? Botanical garden, or one and very important point is you might be hearing a word called as ex situ or in situ. Kunisa niki? Nai kuna no? Okay, botanical garden ba zoological park, ebilakot je organisms bilak thake, plant hok ba animal hok, what do? We do nothing but conservation, right? So it's a means of conservation, right? Now whenever we talk about conservation, two types of conservation are associated, in situ or ex situ. তুমি প্লান্টডাল বা তুমি অৰ্গেনিজমটো কনজাৰ্ভ কৰিছা, ক'ত কনজাৰ্ভ কৰিছা, তাৰ নেচাৰেল হেবিটেটত কনজাৰ্ভ কৰিছা নে ইউ আৰ ব্ৰিঙিং দ্যাট অৰ্গেনিজম ফ্ৰম ইটছ নেচাৰেল হেবিটেট এণ্ড ইউ আৰ প্লেচিং ইট সামৱেৰ এলছ, right? In that respect we have two words, in situ conservation and ex situ. In situ conservation, you conserve the organism in its natural habitat, right? But whereas in a botanical garden, what do? You collect the plants from different parts of the world, different areas, or eta beleg jagat tumi conserve kora. So that is what is called as ex situ. Entrance point of view pra hoday ei question to ahise, botanical garden is a means of in situ ne ex situ conservation. It's a means of ex situ conservation. Similarly, in case of zoological parks also, zoo is a means of key ex situ conservation. So hetu word important ki tar uporiu kisuman words lagibo. Next is botanical gardens or concept is very old, right? From the time of Theophrastus itself, there was a concept of botanical gardens. Kintu obviously as time progresses, tar study, tar importance besi hoye goye ase, right? It is not something that's very new. Tare ami ketaman point likhim. So points that are important, largest botanical garden report question ahe, quote ase hetur upor question ahe, so the name of the place important. As far as the date is concerned, date upor question aha nai. Next, India botanical garden ke khonman janibo laiba, out of all the gardens that we will be discussing, okol naam kisuman kintu ekhon botanical garden something in details, right, because it's supposed to be the largest one in India and plus the first one to be established, right. Next, father of Indian botany lagibo, father of botany to ami janu Theophrastus, father of Indian botany. Again year nalage, quote ase lagibo Kolkata. Konoba goisa niki botanical garden, tat ki dekhisa something very specific. Dami dami bostupur ase aru duta man bostu birat unique ase. First, a great banyan tree. Hoy banyan tree janu no, banyan tree dal imane dangor je quote arambo hoise quote shekh hoise tumi gom nopua. Yes, aru banyan trees bilakor specific ki thake je tahator eta special type of roots thake that is called as prop roots, no, tahator stems bilakor pora roots ulai, right. Edal gosor normal roots to thakiboi, right. So if you talk about the plant like this, so soil or torok to tar normal roots thakibo, no. So upor jundal gos ase, gosor to tar branches bur ase, no, branchor pora tahator ki ulai roots ulai, right. Ekiblak ami morphology pisat porhim, right. They have a proper name that is called as prop roots afterwards. So jote root system to touch kore tar pora edal notun plant hobo nohoy, ako yar branches hobo, yato roots hobo. So as a result the main plant extends to a very large area, right. That is the unique point or the unique plant that you see. Unique plants kisuman moi likhim, thik ase, great banyan tree. Second, you have a lily. Lily jano ne, water lily. Water lily, Victoria ba water lily eta specific species ase jar niki leaf to imane dangor je eta tumi eta newborn baby thoribo pora. It's a huge leaf, thik ase. That's the second point. Third important species is a branching palm tree. Normally when we talk about a palm tree, no, branches ase jano, khejur gosor branch ase jano, kisuman trees of branches na thake na, coconut branch nai. We have to talk about betel nut also, tahator to branch nai. Junblak ami eblak dekhabo, eblak ki hoy, nothing but leaves, right. Leaf bases bilake hoy, they don't have branches. So when we talk about a palm tree, no, they don't have a branch, but Kolkata ki ase, a branching palm tree ase. So kisuman attraction ase. Apart from the plants, they also have the largest collection of herbarium. What is herbarium? We'll be discussing, right. So ekhini hol aru eta point likhimi are. right? So বহুত আছে তাৰ ভিতৰত questions generally great banyan tree, right? 2 centuries old মানে কিমান ডাঙৰ এডাল single গছ, huh? 200 years, adult single গছ 200 years plus it extends and it's keeping on extending. তাৰমানে কিমান ডাঙৰ এৰিয়া এটা কভাৰ কৰিব ন. Next is largest leaves, right? Victoria amazonica or Amazon lily or Victoria. ইয়াতে as far as the scientific names are concerned, no scientific names etia okoman tan lagibo, but these scientific names you have to by heart because once we read about morphology again we are going to read about this, right? So there are ficus boli kole ficus religiosa and ficus bengalensis are the two oftenly spoken species, right? Ficus bengalensis is a banyan tree and ficus religiosa is a peepal tree jinalike ami worship koru, right? So this is all about the Kolkata Botanical Garden. Next likha So এইখিনিৰ পৰা details নালাগে, it is just the names that you have to remember আৰু ইয়াৰ পৰা questions কেনেকৈ আহে, match the following type questions আহে. The Lloyd Botanical Garden ক'ত আছে, right? National Botanical Garden ক'ত আছে, so match the following from MCQ point of view. Next, functions of botanical garden. Lalbagh Garden, LALBAGH, right? Proper name, even spelling mistakes are not horrid, right? Next, look at functions of botanical garden. ইয়াতে এই গোটেইখিনিৰ ভিতৰৰ পৰা question maximum কিহৰ ওপৰত আহিছে, Lloyd Botanical Gardensৰ ওপৰত আহিছে, Calcutta Botanical Garden and National Botanical Garden, right? Indian Botanical Garden আৰু National Botanical Garden দুখন বেলেগ বেলেগ. Indian Botanical Garden is কি কলকাতা, কিন্তু National Botanical Garden লখনৌ, right? Next, functions of botanical garden. Functions of botanical garden from board's point of view, board gita, from entrance point of view, just ex situ conservation. Here to report a question answer. So the functions of botanical garden, बाकी ऊपर खिनि की GK oriented no, एको नाजानिलेও किबा लिखिब परिबा. The question on पाहरिउ जाओ, you don't have to remember exact the words over here. So botanical garden importance की GT लिखिब परिम no, we have an idea. But this point is very important, right? Ex situ conservation. As far as the number is concerned, if you go for the recent studies, obviously the number has increased. In the NCERT tier to 525 diya se, you will be studying 525 only, right? So this is all about the first taxonomic aid, that is a botanical garden. So botanical garden na key points important. First is the word ex situ conservation. Second, Indian Botanical Garden or National Botanical Garden, and Lloyd Botanical Garden. Ekita word important. Largest botanical garden, QE England. Right? plants ki important ase ki ase iman entrance of kudha nai bostu bilak na khali jeka khini janiba. After this, next number 2, the second aid. Last line hold. Okay. The next taxonomic aid is herbarium. What is herbarium? It is also called as a dry garden. A2 word important, right? Next, herbarium is nothing but a sheet of paper in which you preserve the plants in the form of a dry material. Right? That is what is called as a herbarium. Sometimes what happens is it's not possible for you to visit the area where the plant is, or neither it's possible that you bring the plant from that area and put it in a proper place, right? So what you can do, if you want to know about that species and if you want to identify the species, you want to make other people know about the species, what you can do is you can collect the plant itself or certain parts of the plant, dry it, and then you preserve it. And how do you preserve? You preserve in a particular type of a paper. That paper is called as a herbarium sheet, right? As far as the herbarium sheet is concerned, eta enukwa okoman rectangular eta sheet of paper, teneke ame chart paper bilak thake no, eta specific size thake, size or about question ahe. In the herbarium sheet, what do? You collect the species. Now, collecting a plant and putting it as a dry specimen does not mean we are talking about a mango tree, right? We mango aam gos dal ani pele kagozot logai dibo nwara. Right? Obviously, we are talking about small plants, or if it is a large plant, what we can do is we can collect the parts individually. Roots or sample lolu, leaves or sample lolu, right? Kintu generally herbaceous plants bilak, but normal small plants bilak, or we can collect the entire species. So you collect a small plant, you bring it to your place, you put it under newspapers, you dry that off. Right? Because when you have plucked that plant or you have taken that plant part, obviously it was living and it contained moisture, and retaining moisture and conserving is not possible. Moisture thakile ki hobo, kagos khon to beya hoy jabo. So what you have to do is you have to dry that out, and drying also has a process. How do you dry it? Dryer eta di dibo nwara, right? But blower eta di dibo nwara. What you have to do is the proper process is you dry it with the help of newspapers. Ani pele directly newspapers hola, paper khon titi jabo, ako change korila, jetia loke ekdom moisture naikia hoy jay, you repeat the process, right? Next, once it is dried, what you do is you stick that plant in the sheet. Sticking oru kotha ase, you have to put a glue. You cannot be using a sellotape, or you cannot be using a stapler, right, etc. Either you can stitch it down or you can glue it down, right? What are the steps of making a herbarium? As of now, I think it's understood. You put a plant in the dried form in a particular sheet of paper, that's called as herbarium. Since it is in the dry form, it is also called as a dry garden. So anytime you want to know about this species, it might not be possible to visit that field or that proper habitat. You can look into the sheet and have an idea about the plant, right? So enekwa dhoroner sheets or at a complete room coat ase Kolkata Botanical Garden. Tar eta statement likisilu no, largest herbarium in the east. Protekto botanical garden ot ki thake herbarium or collection thake, right? So in a botanical garden, not necessarily you see only living specimen or only living plants. You can see it in the form of dry plants also, provided it is preserved in the form of a herbarium, right? Jedi Kolkata goisa tatu sage goisa room eta ase gute ekdom puronar nisna kagozor gundhot mane thakibo nwari, because it has been preserved, no, years after years you are preserving. Ekhon kagos purona hoy gole ki hobo, yellowish hoy na jay jano, and it starts fading away, right? But fade jate nohoy ako tate chemicals din, right? So we have that. Next, herbarium. Idea palu, it's a sheet of paper, particular size thake, size about question ahe. In the herbarium, what you have? The plant species, and obviously the description about the plant also. Looking at the sheet itself, you have to know the plant. Know the plant mane ki? Yata to tar bikhoy likha thakibo laibo no. So this area is called as label. This is called the sheet, this is called as the label. You have a size for the label, you have a size for the sheet also, right? Ever question is a label to kuntu corner thake, upper, lower, right, left, etc., etc. So kuntu corner thake hitu upor question ahise. Next, as far as these informations are concerned, kenuka dhoroner informations label or thake hekhiniu poribo lagibo. Ki thakibo? You have the name of the collector, kune collect korisile, you have the name of the place where it originated, where you have found it, you have the local name, the vernacular name or local name or the vernacular name and a scientific name, and certain details. You have a proper classification system. Classification system is something that we are going to do in the second chapter. Kintu, I think you all remember we have used certain words called as artificial classification, natural classification words used koriso no. So tenuka kisuman scientists classification disile. So herbarium sheet at a particular type of classification hai ami accept koru. Kuntu accept koru will study later. Bentham and Hooker boli ase. Right. So you have all those information. Question to ever ki ahile je generally ami ki porhu je yate information ki ase. Question to ahise yate information ki nai. So ki nai answer to dibo lagile yate jikhini ase hekintu jani lobo lagibo. Right? Juntu nai, that would be the correct answer. For example, the question was what was not present in the label, the height of a plant. Information about the height of a plant, the width of a plant is not written there, right? Classification ase, classification khone ki kobo? Hey, hetu taxonomic hierarchy to kotha kobo, kuntu kingdom, kuntu class, kuntu order, right? Kisuman informations dibo, kintu kisuman informations na thakeo. Right? So this is all. We'll just write it down.
Is herbarium sheet made up of some other items?
No, that paper itself is meant for herbarium, I mean the herbarium itself, right? It's not a normal paper where we write it, it's almost like a chart paper. Okay, herbarium sheet বা herbarium কি হয় dry garden হয়. The sheets are arranged in the sequence of an accepted classification system. What we understand by this line is ইয়াতে এটা classification system থাকিব talking about the plant, and that classification system something that we accept. Now when we are talking about accepting a classification system, I mean normally we don't accept the primitive classification system, right? So morphological occultic classification system based on morphology hoise, obviously that's primitive and this is not something that is accepted now. But we have studied something called as the latest one, using a word called as phylogenetic. Right. So phylogenetic, artificial classification, natural classification and phylogenetic classification. Artificial classification based only on morphology. Natural classification ki asle based on all the factors except phylogeny, and phylogenetic classification includes everything. So from studies point of view, which one should have been more accepted is obviously the phylogenetic. But due to certain reason, I mean phylogenetic system to accept nokori ply. ইয়াতে herbarium sheetor karone ekhon natural classification use koru. Natural classification does not mean we are talking about just one classification, right? Jiman bilak scientists asile on the basis of all those points যদি ক্লাসিফাই কৰিছে তেতিয়াহ'লে বহুত বিলাক নেচাৰেল ক্লাসিফিকেশন থাকিব, বহুত সাইন্টিস্টে অকল মৰ্ফলজি ওয়াইজও ক্লাসিফাই কৰিছে. সো আৰ্টিফিশিয়াল ক্লাসিফিকেশন এখন নে বহুত অবভিয়াসলি বহুত থাকিব, যিমানবোৰ প্ৰিমিটিভ ওয়াৰ্কাৰ্স আছিলে, যিমানবোৰ প্ৰিমিটিভ সাইন্টিস্ট আছিলে, সবৰে ক্লাসিফিকেশন বিলাক আমি কি বুলি কৈছিল আৰ্টিফিশিয়াল. ঠিক তেনেকৈ নেচাৰলো বহুত থাকিব, ফাইলোজেনেটিকো বহুত থাকিব, বাট ওৱান টাইপ অফ আ natural classification is accepted. Details about this in the second chapter, right? Next, as far as the size is concerned, size too in terms of centimeter and in terms of inches, duita lage, maximum has been asked about the inches, right? Next, talking about the label, as I said, position to lagibo, right, left, lower, upper, this and that. Size of the label, important but not very important, right? Basically, your report question is, and next is label provides information about সেই পইণ্টটো ব্ৰেকেটত কিয় দিছোঁ কাৰণ এবাৰ এটা কুৱেশ্যন আহিছিলে, ইজ দ্য ইনফৰ্মেশ্যন এবাউট হাইট অফ আ প্লান্ট ইজ এ প্ৰেজেণ্ট ইন দ্য লেবল? নো.
When writing this kind of information in a sheet, is this also some kind of job?
It is actually, this is a part of the practical that you will do, you'll be doing if suppose you take botany as a subject, right? Higher secondary no hoy, next degree level or this is one type of a practical. It's not a particular job, every botanical student has to know about the plant, so you have to collect it and make a herbarium.
So the students make those?
Yeah, no, it's like from the college, from education point of view, it's the students that make it, and from studies point of view, anyone can make it, whoever is interested, provided you know what to write, right? And in a botanical garden, there might be certain curators also to collect the species and make it, right? It will no? How to make a herbarium, what are the steps? Again, as far as writing, the note is concerned, note to bahut dighol hobo, kintu from entrance point of view, iman description nalage. Ki lagibo? The sequence, right? What you will do? First you will collect or first you will dry. Obviously you will go for collection first. Second step would be drying. third step would be applying certain chemicals and then gluing it down. So sequence to he lagibo, right? Kintu notes to ami basically likhiso aru tar uporiu eta duta part just for the sake of knowing also. So whenever you are going for collection of a herbarium, it should be always perfect and complete. By these words, what we understand is, suppose you are going to collect a small plant, hey plant dar flower to collect koribo lagibo, tar jedi spine ase spine dalu collect koribo lagibo, thorn edal jodi ase thorn dalu collect koribo lagibo, so that you have a complete idea about the plant. If suppose you do not take out or you do not bring all the parts, the other person referring to the herbarium sheet will have no idea about that part. So he karone protecto part thakibo lagibo. And next is complete, right? It should be complete. It means almost the same. And sometimes what might happen, that you are collecting a plant, and while you are collecting or while you are preserving, kisuman parts to horiu poribo pare, no? Maybe you have a flower on the plant, and as the time of drying is undergoing, the dried flower might snap off. Then what will you do? Hetu to logaboi lagibo. So we have certain things called as pockets, right? So pockets of hetu toy, hetu ami glue ba stitch it down, so that the person referring will know je a flower to asile kiba ta karone hori porise, right? So it should be complete. So out of all the points that we have written, okol perfect and complete words monot rakhile hogol, right? So this is the first one. The second step, drying. Ekini hoisile? Yeah, it's in English. It's always in English. No, everywhere it's in English. So, as I said, the sequence is important. First is collection, second is drying, third is poisoning. Poisoning or etai question that is important is, or the point that is important is example, right? AgCl2 or mercury chloride, right? Our drying part of newspapers. Next, number 4th.
For this process, there is a specific glue.
No, just a normal glue. Normal glue. So, when we talk about making a herbarium, we have to follow certain steps. The steps obviously you have to remember in the form of a sequence. First, collection, next drying, next poisoning, next is gluing or mounting or stitching, and finally we have deposition. Deposition, other way around, means storage also, right? You have to store it in a proper house. Before storing, you have to write the classification also. As I said, no, এখন special classification use করে, এটো point of question আহে, right? What is the type of classification system used in herbarium? It is Bentham and Hooker's system of classification. What is Bentham and Hooker's system of classification? Next chapter, right? And finally, certain types of disinfectants are also sprayed just to keep the pest away, right? Poisoning ও করে আর disinfectants ও spray করে. Poisoning কিহৰ কাৰণে কৰে? Microbes বোৰ গুছাবলে, right? আর disinfect কিহৰ কৰে? যাতে insects নহয়, pest নহয়, flies কিছুমান নহয়, because we know once we keep the paper at a certain period of time it will start rotting. অকমান হলেও স্মেল হ'ব, অকমান হলেও রট কৰিব, তেতিয়া কি হ'ব? ইনসেক্টস পৰিব, right? Just to have a measure, কি কৰে? Disinfectants বিলাক spray কৰে. That's all. So boardsত অকমান ডিটেইলছত পঢ়িবা, এন্ট্ৰেন্সৰ ডিটেইলছত নপঢ়িবা, just sequence to আৰু যোনকেইটা পইণ্ট টিক কৰিছোঁ. Next লিখা functions of a herbarium. তোমাৰ শ্বেলফত এটা এটাকৈ ষ্ট'ৰ কৰি দিয়ে, সেইকাৰণে লাষ্টৰ হাৰ্বেৰিয়ামখনৰ অৱস্থা নাইকিয়া হৈ যায়. সেইকাৰণে ইট ইজ নট লাইক দিছ দেট একদম অৰিজিনেলত যোনটো প্ৰিজাৰ্ভ কৰিছে আজিও আছে, চ' ইউ মেক ডুপ্লিকেট কপিজ অলছ'. চ' উইল কাম টু দেট পাৰ্ট, ৰাইট? ইমান ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট প্লান্ট এডাল, চ' অৰিজিনেলটো হেৰাই গ'লে নহ'ব ন, কিবা এটাতো উপায় কৰিব লাগিব. Most common one. Okay, out of the functions, accurate identification, মনত ৰাখিবা, and next so exchange programs কৰিব পাৰে, right? এখন botanical gardenত আছে, এখন botanical gardenত নাই, so they can just exchange, right? Or they can go for a loan also. Loan system to আছে because these are supposed to be very costly materials. So you can apply a loan against these also. Opposite gold a loan by not necessary, right? Botany also has a lot of importance. So a loan word tomorrow rakhiba or exchange programs. Baki? Because no, based on the specimen they have declared a price tag, right? So that could be one type of applying loans. Yeah, you can buy them, money you can keep them against a price, right? You can buy them also, etc. etc. Hold. Next. Okay, when we are studying herbarium, question has been asked about the type specimen also. Herbarium ki hoy? A sheet of paper, right? So tate kisman words ase jeneke the first form herbarium, right? The first time bonaisa he herbarium konoko herbarium boli koba, ekhon duplicate copy jedi bonua hekhono to herbarium e hobo. Kintu we have a different term for everything, right? So these are the certain terms that we'll study. So we come across a word called as holotype. What is holotype? The first original herbarium is called as holotype. Right, first time dekhisa ekhon bonaisa, that is called as holotype. Similarly we'll have some other terms also. Etia ki kora prothomore note to likhi lua, as far as understanding is concerned in a very formative way ami pisot dim. Eta khali notes kini likha.
When we say herbarium, we mean the room or
No, it's just a sheet of paper in which contains a dry specimen, and especially plant specimen. ইয়াতে কেনেকে পঢ়িব লাগে মই এখন চাৰ্ট ফৰ্মত দিম, খালি প্ৰথমে সেন্টেন্সখিনি লিখি লওঁ হা। So note wise এনেকে লিখিবলে ভাল, কিন্তু আন্ডাৰষ্টেণ্ডিং পইণ্ট অফ ভিউ অকণমান বেলেগকে বুজি পাম। ইয়াৰ পৰা কুৱেশ্যনছ কেনেকৈ আহে, হলোটাইপৰ ওপৰত কুৱেশ্যন আহিলেতো চবতছে ইজি ন, দ্য ফাৰ্ষ্ট মেড হাৰ্বেৰিয়াম ইজ কল্ড এজ হলোটাইপ, ৰাইট। আইচোটাইপ অলছ' ওৱান ৱৰ্ড দ্যাট ইজ ইজি ইজ দ্য ৱৰ্ড কল্ড এজ ডুপ্লিকেট, ৰাইট। জেৰক্স কপি টাইপ আইচোটাইপ, কিন্তু কথাটো হ'ল আইচোটাইপটো কেতিয়া বনাবা, ইন প্ৰেজেন্স অফ দ্য holotype নে ইন absence of the holotype. Sometimes it might be like this, that you make the holotype and due to certain reason the holotype might get lost. So if that holotype is lost, কি কৰিবা? তুমি এটা ফিল্ডত গৈছা, এডাল প্লান্ট দেখিছা, তুমি এখন হাৰ্বেৰিয়াম বনাইছা, ফাৰ্ষ্ট বনোৱাখনক আমি কি বুলি ক'ম, holotype। তুমি বনাইছা, কিবা কাৰণে হেৰাই গ'ল, what will you do? You have two options. Either you go back to the field collect again and again make it, right? Or else what you can do, you can go to the field, specimen to jodi pai gola khub bhal, jodi nai pua, you cannot be allowing all the informations to go waste. So what you do, you go in search of another plant of the same species, right? So kisman words important, etia underline kora, maybe in the next class we'll have a proper discussion, right? Etia aru ketaman ase, ekita words likhi lom aji first, right? Aji bujibo na lage okol likha. Our question kene kya hai, I'll ask aake, I'll give you an idea. চেণ্টেন্সবোৰ অলমষ্ট চিমিলাৰ ৰাইট স্পেচিয়েলি 8ৰ এইটো চোৱাচোন অলমষ্ট চিমিলাৰ হয়নে চ' নিঅ'টাইপ ইজ আ হাৰ্বেৰিয়াম চিনটাইপ ইজ অলছ' আ হাৰ্বেৰিয়াম নিঅ'টাইপ কেতিয়া বনাবা চিনটাইপ কেতিয়া বনাবা ইন both the cases what is common এনেকুৱা দুখন হাৰ্বেৰিয়াম কেতিয়া বনাবা যেতিয়া হলোটাইপটো লষ্ট হৈ গ'ল অৰিজিনেল প্লেনডালো নাই right তেতিয়াহ'লে either you can go for a neotype or you can make a syntype what the similarity is in case of loss of both the holotype and the original plant what is the difference is sheet many sheets এখন বনাবা নে বেছিকে বনাবা যদি বেছিকে বনোৱা syntype if you make just one it's a so we have little differences between them this way we are just writing the note how we will have to remember it next class in the form of a chart did him that will make the study easier right ekhini ekon confusing hobo
that's many herbarium
yeah many herb sheets yeah prepared from many plants of the same species one species will obviously have many plants it's not like this that one species will have just one plant right many herbarium sheets or you can write many herbaria there are two words herbarium and herbaria herbaria is plural herbarium is singular kintu singular hole sheets likhisu no so that makes it as plural right so I think this is all for today right proper understanding of this we'll do it in the next class right so ekhini korile amar second taxonomic aid to complete hobo then we'll be moving to the third taxonomic aid we'll be studying something called as keys in the next class thank you so doubts ase nei kiba thank you